I was drawn to business ownership because I wanted more freedom and control over my life. And that may be what sparks your interest as well. But anyone who spent time in the real world knows freedom isn't free. It has a cost, and usually that cost is your time. So it's a fair question to ask. How much time does it really take to transition into business ownership? Sorry to tell you, there's no silver bullet here. The timeline depends a lot on the business you choose, skills you bring, and how much energy you can realistically invest. But I've worked with thousands of new owners, and I have seen some patterns that I've used to create a framework that can help you think about realistic expectations. I call it the 1, 2, 3 business start timeline. 1 year to find and close on the right opportunity, 2 years of focus work to learn the business and corral the chaos, and then 3 more years to master the machine, creating increasing levels of time freedom and financial flexibility that give you the real choices about where you want to go next. So let's break it down, since this is really about managing expectations and ensuring you're putting in the right amount of work to make it successful. So let's start with 1 year to find and close or launch the opportunity. I've actually seen people go from idea to owning a business in just a few months. One of my favorite stories is of Andre Lilick. His brother forwarded him a business listing via text. 3 months later, he owned a 100-year-old golf course. But for every Andre Lilick, there are 100 more that take 6 months, 12 months, or even a year or two. And based on what I've seen, a year is a realistic expectation for someone that's actively committed to the process. There's obviously some luck involved, but most of it will come down to you, how picky you are, and how much time you're willing to invest. If you're determined to find a business that checks all your boxes, one that fits your skills, values, and goals, it's going to take longer, and it should. You're making a decision that'll shape the next 5+ years of your life. So it's worth taking the time to make sure the money and effort you're about to invest have a real shot at delivering the life you want. Now, the people I've seen be most effective, they treat their search like a part-time job. And what I mean by that is they invest 5 to 20 hours a week consistently for as long as it takes, because consistency compounds. Every week, you can develop more clarity, you learn from the market, and you keep momentum moving. And that's what I've seen turn a wish into a plan and eventually a closed deal or a successful business launch. All right, number 2 years of heavy work to learn the business and corral the chaos. I underline heavy. Starting or buying a business, I think of a lot like having a baby. When my wife and I had our first child, we jokingly called the first 2 years the pain cave. Why? Well, you're exhausted. You're constantly troubleshooting, just trying to keep the baby happy. It's like this giant game of whack-a-mole. Are you hungry? Are you tired? Are you bored? Do you need a diaper change? And by the time you finally get him down for a nap, you think, oh, I'm going to work out, I'm going to shower, I'm going to eat. And if you're lucky, you get one of those things done, and then the whack-a-mole starts all over again. A new business isn't much different. At first, everything needs your attention. You're figuring out what really moves the needle, which people you need and maybe you're the wrong fit, what customers to focus on, which channels actually bring results. It can be messy and it can be demanding, but it's also the season where your investment of time makes the biggest difference. And as you start building systems, training employees, and learning what works, you can start to get your feet under you, and slowly the chaos will start to settle. Now, during this season, I found it's best to give the business as much focus as you can. It can help to think of it as a temporary sprint designed to create stability for the long run. Now, that might mean scaling back some of your hobbies, maybe some board roles you're on, some extra travel for a while, and it almost always means working longer hours. In fact, it's not uncommon for me to hear our clients say, hey, I've never worked harder and I've never been happier. And I think it's because this season of heavier work can be some of the most fulfilling and purposeful times of your life, even as it's simultaneously hard, kind of like having a baby. But if you can power through those 2 years with focus and intention, you can set yourself up for a business that runs smoother and a life on the other side that does too, only now with some of the time freedom and financial perks that come from owning a great business. All right, and three more years to master the machine. Once the chaos settles, the next 3 years are about mastery. You've built systems, you've hired people, you've created structure, but the reality is that scaling the business is going to bring new challenges. Some of the fixes that worked early on are going to start to break. You're going to lose a key employee or two. A system you relied on is going to stop working. You're going to realize part of your product or service needs to evolve to stay relevant. It's the same stage shift parents see when a baby becomes a toddler. The chaos is different, but it's still there. You're still teaching them how to manage their emotions, stay focused, build independence, and slowly you get your life back, first in small bursts and then in longer stretches. And a business works similarly. By year 5, though, you should have a nice rhythm and confidence that you mostly know what to expect. You know your key drivers, and the business mostly runs on systems instead of just your pure adrenaline. And that's when the real payoff begins, giving you increasing amounts of time freedom, financial flexibility, and options for what comes next. And what you choose to do with those options is what determines how the next 5 years of your life are going to look, because you might choose to grow and expand and start the process all over again. Or you might decide to take this opportunity, enjoy a more balanced life, or you might even decide to sell. Because the truth is, the kind of businesses people want to buy are the ones where the chaos has been tamed already and the owner finally has choices. At the end of the day, for most people, the goal is freedom. The freedom to work on what you want, spend time with who you want, and do it without meaningful financial limitations. That was certainly my goal, and I'm forever grateful for the season of hard work it took me to earn it. It had a cost, but so did having kids. I wouldn't trade either of my kids or really any of my businesses, and that's true even of the ones that ultimately failed or didn't amount to much. Because each of them taught me something that became part of who I am now, someone who's no longer an employee expecting someone else to provide me security and improve my life. Because as a business owner, I'm in charge of creating the life that I want. And if you're willing to pay the price, you may be able to find that too. Not just the freedom that comes from being in control of your time and focus, but also the meaning that comes from making a difference and having real agency over your life. Now, I wish you the best of luck as you take action on your dreams. And if you found this video helpful, please like it and please share it with someone who might benefit. Also, if you have a question about becoming a business owner you'd like me to tackle, drop it in the comments or send me a note at jeremy@jeremyames.com. I answer one of these questions every week in my newsletter. So until next time, cheers.